Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you sounds like fiction, but it's not. This actually happened. And if you blinked, you missed the exact moment the power structure of women's tennis started to crack. Not shake, not bend, crack. There are certain dates in sports history that don't just pass. They divide eras, before and after. So go ahead, lock this one in. March 17th, 2026. Not just another match day, not just another tournament on the calendar. This was the moment everything changed. At Hard Rock Stadium, a venue built for spectacle, noise, and global attention, something unprecedented unfolded. And no, it wasn't a Grand Slam final. It wasn't a farewell match. It wasn't even headlined by the world number one. It was something far more uncomfortable for the people running the sport, something they didn't plan for, didn't predict, and definitely didn't prepare for. The Miami Open, one of the crown jewels of tennis history, did something it had never done before. It completely sold out. Not almost sold out, not last few tickets remaining. Gone. Every seat, every section, every possible ticket vanished. The demand didn't just rise, it exploded. Servers crashed, websites froze, fans flooded every possible entry point just trying to get in. Now, here's the part that flips everything upside down. The reason behind this madness wasn't the defending champion, wasn't the global superstar, wasn't even a top 10 player. It was a 20-year-old from the Philippines. Her name? Alex Eala. And in that moment, she became something far bigger than a rising star. She became a force the sport could no longer control. Let that sink in. A player ranked outside the top 20 was pulling more attention, more fans, more energy than players who had spent years building their legacy. That's not normal. That's not hype. That's disruption. And here's where things get even more uncomfortable, because this wasn't just about tennis anymore. This was about power. You see, sports follow a pattern. The biggest names get the biggest stages. The highest rankings get the spotlight. The system rewards those who've already made it. But what happens when the audience chooses someone else? Because that's exactly what happened here. The fans didn't wait for permission. They didn't follow rankings. They didn't care about legacy. They chose her. And when millions of people make the same choice at once, you don't get a trend, you get a movement. They even gave it a name, the Eala effect, a phenomenon so powerful it forced the entire tennis establishment into panic mode. Behind the scenes, confusion, emergency meetings, last-minute changes, because suddenly the script they had written for this tournament didn't matter anymore. Everything was being rewritten in real time. And the craziest part? This didn't start in Miami. No, this was building long before the first ball was struck. Just 24 hours before the tournament draw dropped, the rankings were updated, and quietly, almost casually, something historic happened. Alex Eala broke into the top 30 for the first time in her career, world number 29. Now, on paper, that might not sound revolutionary, but context changes everything. Because she didn't climb into the top 30 slowly, she didn't creep in, she didn't wait her turn. She kicked the door open, and the tennis world felt it. This surge came straight off a statement run at Indian Wells, where she didn't just compete, she sent a message. Her opponent? Coco Gauff, one of the most marketed, most anticipated young stars in the entire sport, a player built for dominance, prepared for greatness. And yet, that match didn't go the way anyone expected, because from the very first rally, something felt different. The pace? Relentless. The angles? Brutal. The pressure? Suffocating. Point by point, game by game, it became clear. This wasn't an underdog story. This was a takeover. And then it happened. Gauff couldn't continue.
Sandra, this week just keeps getting better for you. You just took out the world number 5 for the biggest win of your career. We saw the reaction. What is going through your mind right now?
I'm so blank. I'm thinking of my parents who are watching now. Mom, Dad, nakuha ko!
That moment didn't just shock fans, it shook the locker room. Because now, the question wasn't, who is Alex Eala? The question became, how do you stop her? And here's the truth most people won't say out loud. They don't have an answer yet. Because what makes her dangerous isn't just skill, it's belief. The kind of belief that doesn't wait for validation, the kind that doesn't care about rankings, the kind that walks onto the court already convinced it belongs. And when that kind of mindset meets preparation, that's when things get scary. Because behind the scenes, she wasn't just training, she was evolving. At the Rafa Nadal Academy, under the guidance of one of the most ruthless competitors in history, Rafael Nadal, she wasn't taught how to survive matches. She was taught how to endure war, hours under the sun, brutal conditioning, mental drills designed to push past limits, not comfort. Not balance, pain, pressure, persistence. Because at that level, talent isn't enough. You need something deeper, something unbreakable. And that's exactly what she built. Now fast forward back to Miami. While other players were adjusting to the heat, complaining about conditions, managing their energy, she was ready for it. Because she trained for this exact environment. The humidity, the exhaustion, the long, grinding matches that break most players mentally before they break them physically. She didn't fear it. She prepared for it. And that's a dangerous combination. Because now we're not just talking about a player who can win, we're talking about a player who can outlast. And in modern tennis, that's often the difference between contenders and champions. But here's where things take another turn. Because the biggest impact of her rise wasn't happening on the court. It was happening in the stands. Ticket prices skyrocketed. Secondary markets went insane. Fans lined up hours, sometimes days in advance. Not for finals, not for legends, for her matches. Meanwhile, something almost unbelievable was happening elsewhere in the same tournament. Top 10 players were playing in half-empty stadiums. Let that sit with you, because that's not just unusual, that's disruptive. That's the kind of shift that makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who've spent years at the top. Because suddenly, attention, the most valuable currency in sports, wasn't guaranteed anymore. It was earned, and right now, she was taking all of it. And inside the locker room, that kind of shift doesn't go unnoticed. It creates tension, comparison, frustration. Because imagine this, you've spent years grinding, winning titles, building your name, and then suddenly a 20-year-old walks in and becomes the center of everything, without asking, without waiting. That's not easy to accept. And whether anyone admits it publicly or not, it changes the atmosphere. Because now, every player isn't just competing for wins, they're competing for relevance. And right now, she's winning both. But all of this, all the hype, all the pressure, all the attention, is leading to one moment, one potential collision, one match that could define everything. Because waiting in the draw is a name that carries weight, power, history. Iga Swiatek. And if you know tennis, you know what that means. Because this isn't just another matchup. This is unfinished business. 1 year ago, on this exact stage, something happened that nobody expected. And it changed everything. But we're not going there yet. Because what happens next is where the story really explodes. All right, now we go deeper. This is where the story stops being hype and starts becoming personal. Section 2. The match they can't erase. There are losses, and then there are scars. Every athlete loses. That's part of the game. But every once in a while, there's a defeat that doesn't just hurt your record. It rewires your confidence. For Iga Swiatek, that moment came in Miami. Not years ago, not early in her career, just one season back. Same tournament, same atmosphere, same court, but a completely different narrative. At the time, Swiatek wasn't just another top player. She was the standard. Dominant, precise, untouchable on most days. The kind of player opponents don't try to beat. They try to survive. And across the net, a name that barely registered in global conversations. Alex Eala. No massive expectations, no pressure, no spotlight. Just a racket and a belief that didn't match her ranking. What happened next still doesn't sit right with the people who witnessed it. Because it wasn't close. It wasn't a lucky escape. It wasn't one of those matches where everything just clicked. No, it was controlled, calculated, relentless. Swiatek didn't just lose. She was taken apart, angle by angle, point by point, game by game.